Well, the preparation started back in August, and the payoff is a trip to the Fargodome and Dakota Bowl 30. That's the case for the 8 teams that will be playing under the lights on Friday. If you're a hardcore high school football fan, you've come to the right place to get set for the Dakota Bowl. If you're just trying to catch up to speed on some of these teams, you're also in the right place because we got some experts to fill us in. Brad Anderson from 740 The Fan and Chase Miller from Your Live Event. I'm Jody Norstedt with this Midco Sports Dakota Bowl preview. Congrats to all 8 teams that will be playing on Friday inside the Fargodome. Awesome achievement. But fellas, let's start with game 1 on Friday. The 11B championship is going to be between Central Cass and Velva Drake-Anamoose Garrison. That'll be the 9-10 kickoff. The Aggies advancing with a 20-12 win over Hillsborough Central Valley, while Central Cass went on the road for the 3rd straight week and won a playoff game by defeating Beulah 28-6. The Squirrels kind of gave the Miners a taste of their own medicine, running the ball, playing great defense. Did you see this kind of run coming, Brad?
Not really, because as I said, we've never really seen it in the past, but this is just a different Central Cass team. I think the mindset is different. They're playing with a ton of confidence. I think it's a much tougher squad, and I think the offense, Tommy Butler told me afterwards, he says, this offense travels, and that wasn't always the case. He says, when they wanted to throw it a little bit more, it didn't play well this time of year. It's just been a heck of a run, but I think, it just every week is kind of built with confidence. They go on the road and win in Bottineau and to win at Kindred like they did, and they lost 6 in a row to Beulah, and some of those games, quite frankly, hadn't been close. So I think they're going sky high right now, and this is a team that's built for a championship run.
Balance has been the word for Velva. I mean, Velva Drake-Anamoose Garrison, Larry Sandy's team gets it done up front. Great offensive and defensive line play. Kyle Sandy, a big piece to that puzzle, along with a couple of others. And then Ben Shep, the standout sophomore quarterback that's slinging it all over the place. That's a good team. It's
a really good team for the Aggies. And like you said, balance earlier in the year. Taking a look back earlier this week on some press clippings from out west in the central part of the state. And it was talked about early on that the line play was going to be the best for the Aggies. That's where it was going to start, and then it would kind of go from there. And they've done a really good job after Caden Chadwick again last year leaves as a senior, goes to NDSU. You wonder of that big hole to fill. Well, they've glued together, Jody, for time and time again. And it's going to be very interesting to see the contrast after playing a tough Borough team, how they're going to go up against Central Cass, who's probably, again, feeling like, hey, we're ride high. And Tommy Butler said it in the Kinder matchup, we're the 11th best team in 11B. We shouldn't be here. And they're going with that mantra yet again.
Well, let's do some predictions for this one. 11B championship. Brad, who do you got?
I'm staying on that Squirrels bandwagon right now. I think they're rolling. It's a short trip. They've already gone like 900-plus miles in the first 3 weeks. The weather might be a factor because I think it's a lot easier to get to the Fargodome from Castleton than it is from Velva. So I just think they're riding a wave of emotion, and I'm going to stay with the Squirrels.
History says to go with the Aggies because they've won 9 straight stinking titles at the Dakota Bowl since 1997, but they haven't been there in over a decade, since 2010. But I like what I've seen from Central Cass after knocking off Kindred, after going on the road to Beulah, going up against that minor package. They did a really good job, and maybe it just means the first time in 4 decades that the Central Cass Squirrels can win a title, but it's not going to be easy. Velva's been a really good team and maybe a little undervalued out west so far this season from us guys out east.
Boy, I just think, to pull off 3 upsets, and now you're asking Central Cass to pull off a 4th, I think that's going to be a tough task. I think Velva Drake-Anamoose Garrison has been playing great all year. Maybe they've had some lapses here and there. It was a tough one against Hillsborough Central Valley, but I like the balance that they have offensively and defensively. That defensive line, really, really good. It's going to be a good battle in the trenches between those 2 teams, but I'll be the guy that upsets the apple cart and goes with Velva Drake-Anamoose Garrison. Move over to 9B, our second game of the day. 4-seed Cavalier against 2-seed New Salem-Almont. Tornadoes beat Lemoore Litchfield Marion, the number 1 seed, the defending state champs. They beat them in a rematch of last year's Dakota Bowl, which was won by the Lobos, of course. And then Chase, I think most of the state felt that the Lobos were going to be there again, but Cavaliers just getting the job done.
Yeah, kudos to Cavalier. I know we've kind of said it throughout the year, okay, Cavaliers 3, Cavaliers 4, but they're probably the most undervalued top 5 team from wire to wire in the state here. Credit to Mitch Greenwald and, again, that Cavalier team for being consistent, finding a way to win on the road, going up against Mayport CG, and then following up with a road win at Lemoore Litchfield Marion, holding the Lobos to season low in points scored and the most points against in a game, and also 300 yards for that QB. Again, it's Sterling Enerson with 4 touchdowns, 300 yards total offense, most of them coming through the air. Cavalier right now playing awfully good brand of football.
The other team in this championship, New Salem-Almont, against North Prairie, that was a back-and-forth game. Just absolutely wild. And New Salem kind of had a little bit of adversity that they faced and came back and fought and won it. Ty Wolding, great at quarterback. A.J. Hines, one of those top recruits on the offensive and defensive lines. What are you looking forward to seeing from with this Holsteins team?
I'm looking forward to seeing both those two play because we just feel like we haven't seen and know a whole lot about them, perhaps. And I'm curious to see if they're going to bring the trailer out and see if they come running out of the trailer. And that was a really impressive win. Even though they were at home, they got outgained offensively, and they got a big pick six in the second half as well. So that was huge, and so did Cavalier as well. So turnovers obviously big, and then maybe those catastrophic turnovers. If either team gets one of those, that's huge. One thing with Cavalier too, and they dropped to that number 4 seed. There were kind of some eyebrows raised. Thought, wow, if they'd have been 3, like maybe people thought, they might end up playing New Salem in the semifinals. I guess they'll take the championship bid instead.
Well, speaking of that, they played in the semifinals last year.
That's right.
So that's a rematch of last year's great semifinal, which was a 36-34 Cavalier win on the road at New Salem in overtime. They won it on a 2-point conversion. That game was absolutely wild. Let's start with our predictions. I'm going to go Cavalier. I just think that they've been the better team defensively throughout the season, and I think that holds up in a Dakota Bowl setting up against a really good New Salem team, but I think Cavalier has enough to get it done. Who do you get?
And they shut down a pretty good Mayport offense. Obviously, they shut down a Litchfield-Marion offense that can do it. And they've been the bridesmaid 3 years in a row now. I mean, Kidder County and Linton and then Lemoore last year. I think it's their turn. It's their swan song here for a while in 9B.
Yeah, if you're the senior class, you don't want 4 straight years to bring a state runner-up trophy. You want the ring, so to speak. You want the bride's ring or the groom's ring here. So I'm going to go with the Cavalier Tornadoes as well. I just think the experience of playing there 4 straight years, if they don't have a lapse of 6, 7, 8 minutes like they've done in recent years in championship games, if they can put a full, pretty close 42-minute football game together, I think Cavalier, Jody, is going to find enough over the Holsteins here.
And you mentioned it, Brad. They have enough success points now to go up to 11B. That's where they'll be next season. So this is their last game in 9B for the foreseeable future. Let's go ahead to 11A. Jamestown taking on North. Jamestown had those 2 head-scratching losses. I think it was to Wahpeton, and then they kind of really dropped the ball against Valley City. Literally had some poor fumbles, but they're playing great. This Jamestown offense is really tough to defend, Chase.
Yeah, it is. When you have the quarterback there for Jackson Walters and Preston Gall to throw to with Hochhalter. I mean, Jackson and Preston, 70 catches, over 1,300 yards, 19 touchdowns receiving on the season. And then you add Hochhalter with his ability to run a little bit. He's averaging over 4 yards per rush. So you throw that in there. You throw it in where it's going to be 70 degrees, no wind, and you can go run any route that you possibly want. And then Jackson obviously is just a hard hitter defensively as well. But Jamestown, they got things clicking a little bit here in the playoffs. It's a really good, impressive win against Red River, able to knock off the back-to-back, Grand Forks schools to get to this state championship. So I like the experience. I like where Bill Nelson and the Blue Jays are trajectorying right now here in November.
Yeah, Brad, North lost to Jamestown 49-21, I think it was, in the last game of the regular season. They had some turnover problems, though. What can they do? What's the recipe for the Spartans?
I think they've got to be opportunistic. If they force turnovers, they've done that really the last couple of weeks, especially against South at the big fourth quarter rally. I like a time of possession. If you can control the clock and finish drives. If it's that time of possession, if they've got it at 27, 28, maybe up to 30 minutes. Sometimes that best defense is a good offense to keep the Jamestown offense off the field. And with that ground attack, what they have with Halgo and crew there, that they certainly have the recipe to do that.
All right, so now let's get predictions. North, Jamestown, Chase, lead us off.
Yeah, I like Jamestown. I like their experience. I like their ability to, airmail it out a little bit. I think Fargo and North, that's going to be the key. Their secondary play against some pretty good wide receivers here. And when they roll their quarterback out as well for Jamestown, I like what Bill Nelson's been able to do. So give me the Blue Jays.
Brad?
I go back to last summer when we visited, and I said that was my prediction, is I thought we would see one, maybe a couple of teams that would get a chance to defend their state title. Well, Jamestown's the only one. I'm sticking with that prediction. We're taking the Jays.
There you go. Well, I had the Blue Jays in North, 1-2 in my preseason predictions. And again, I had Jamestown over North. And I just think with that passing attack, with what Hochhalter's able to do, and you alluded to it a little bit, and Jackson Walters, not only offensively, but defensively, and what that defense was able to do, holding Halgo in check in that first meeting, I think they're able to kind of do that again in the Dakota Bowl, and Jamestown gets it done in 11A to go back-to-back. So North fans, go ahead and use that as your bulletin board material for the Spartans. In 11 AA, boy, the final game of the night. It's going to pit the 8 seed, the Cinderella, Century, if you want to ever call them that, from starting the year 0-5 to now playing for the state title after beating both Cheyenne and Davies in the playoffs, and then Shanley trying to spoil that Disney happy ending. The Deacons with a special story of their own, playing in the state championship for the biggest class for the first time since 1983. Of course, they've won state titles here recently in that second division. Now, if Century's script is out of Cinderella, I'm going to give a shout out to my son Harrison that Shanley is like Cars, the movie, like Lightning McQueen, because they are playing at a lightning quick pace over the last 3 games, averaging 50 points per game. That no-huddle offense that they implemented 3 games ago against St. Mary's in the regular season finale has been terrific. It got slowed up last week in the first half against Mandan, but then you saw them kick it into overdrive, 32 points in the second half, 400 yards alone in the second half for Troy Maynard's team as they're able to beat Mandan. We've seen great Shanley offenses before, Brad. What makes this one even better?
This got so many weapons. I mean, you got Kraft and Hakim on the outside they're tough matchups on the edge, and then you got Oshak, who's a slot guy. It's got some speed, but they can hold their own to the ground too. I mean, Leininger's a nice change of pace running back. Rosberg can call his name, if you need to as well. They just had a lot of weapons you gotta account for, and defensively they've done enough.
Yeah, Century has just been playing unbelievable football the last month or so, starting 0-5. A lot has been made about that, but this is still a team that has played in 5 of the last 7 Dakota Bowls. They won 4 state titles. They've been there, done that, but these players maybe in particular haven't quite been there, done that. They made the semifinals last year before they bowed out, but what makes you think that they can complete this remarkable story?
Well, in 5 wins, they've only given up 15 points, so that's where it starts right there. They've been able to turn the football over, as well as of late the wins against Williston, Legacy, BHS, Cheyenne, and Davies, both on the road. So now they're coming to the Fargo Metro a 3rd time, trying to go back to this capital city with another state title. And then it's Peyton Art by land. He's been their number 1, and then Ryan Brynjolfsson by air for the Patriots. Those are the 2 guys that Shanley's going to focus on a lot. If they can stop one, that's my question. What does Century have? Because if it gets north of 20, 30 points, I'm not sure Century's got enough horses, so to speak, in the stable, Jody, to go up against that attack by Fargo Shanley.
And Century got it to its liking, its pace in the regular season. It was a 14-7 Shanley win, and nobody scored in the second half of that game. That's something to kind of keep an eye on, too. Predictions. Does Century do this? Does Century complete the 0-5 to state champions, Brett?
I don't think so, but I don't think it's gonna be a runaway either. I've got like 21-7, 21-10 in my mind. And it was 14-7 the first time around, like you mentioned, and I think Century's defense can do enough to slow down Shanley, but it's hard to stop that type of offense the way they can go, and if they score quick, and all they got to do is score quick a couple of times, and that might be the difference. So, 'cause I just don't know. Century's not built for a track meet. It's built to, win a 2-mile race instead.
Yeah, Battle Tortoise of the Hare, but the Hare with Rotsburg and Leininger and company, I mean, that's just a lot of speed. And also, I think in 11 AA this year, probably Century feels pretty good because it's been the underdog that has just continually knocked off the number 1 seed or the top 2 seed. So if you say for that, for Coach Ron Ringenbach, you maybe don't have the target on your back as big as in prior years. But I'm a Fargo Shanley Deacon grad through and through, so I'm going to go with the Fargo Shanley Deacons, and I like their offense, Joey.
What a homer, right? I think it'll be close, like Brad said. I feel like Shanley can really jump on you with this offense, and you don't have to worry about the elements inside the Fargodome, whether you're passing to a Kim, Oshek, or Kraft. There's just too many weapons. I think they're going to be able to break just enough plays, big plays, explosive plays, to win this football game. And that up-tempo style, that's something that they weren't running in that first meeting. That's something Century's going to have to get acclimated to rather quickly. Well, guys, appreciate it all season. You guys coming on here in the postseason and giving us a preview. Remember to watch Varsity Sports Live Friday at 10:30, a recap from the Dakota Bowl, post-game coverage, and tons of stuff. Great reaction from the players and the coaches. But for Brad Anderson and Chase Miller, thank you for watching. I'm Jody Norstedt. Enjoy the Dakota Bowl, everyone.